Welcome back to Raj Gets Real, the baseball edition, where we have unscripted conversations about everything baseball. Our goal here is to help educate and share everything we know about the game of baseball. And here's your host, Roger Gonzalez. What's going on, my dude? What's going on? All right, we got Mark in the house.
What's up, Raj? How we doing, baby?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Excited to have you on, man. We've known each other for a very long time, back in the Tamiami days, how old were we back then?
Yeah, no, we were, 12, 11?
Yeah, man, we were young. You were still about the same size you are now. You grew so fast.
I haven't grown an inch, man. I haven't grown an inch, like, without a doubt. It's definitely something that I was always wondering if I was going to be like 6'6", or, if it was all going to come later. But it came when I was 12, and it was fun. It definitely was fun.
Yeah, I'm sure you took a lot of advantage of it, especially in the early ages when everybody was still short. But
hey, it was fun to just be stronger than people.
Yeah,
and that's why I encourage all my athletes now to just get as strong as possible, because, at one point or another, I know what it was like.
That's a really good point, man. We can actually let's start off with that. With what you just said, how important have you seen? I know you're a big strength advocate and very detailed oriented in what you kind of teach and what you preach. How important have you seen the strength aspect play in the baseball role and in the baseball world?
Oh man, okay. So personally, I've seen it transform program. I've seen it impact individual players. People down to their core, improving them in their mindsets of how they approach things and the way they go about their business. It allows them to become successful beyond baseball. So, I mean, in regard to the performance side of it, it's always been bigger, faster, stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's about being more efficient. Becoming efficient allows you to be bigger, faster, and stronger. Because we've seen it with guys like Altuve and Francisco Lindor that you don't need to be 6'6" to drive the ball out of the ballpark 30 times.
Absolutely. I mean, we're definitely seeing a change in the game back in the steroid era. I'm not saying there isn't steroids in the game or whatever is going on anymore, but those guys were just massive. Those guys were just big meatheads, and now we're seeing guys that are just small, wiry, and just can hit balls farther than. And then we still have our Stantons and our freaks, but. What do you think that's been? Why do you think we're starting to see those small, wiry type of guys that are just hitting the ball 400 feet?
Okay, well, like I said, it comes down to efficiency. When a player utilizes exponential momentum within their mechanics, so science says when something's falling, it's going to keep falling until something stops.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you're swinging a bat, it's going to keep going until your brain tells it to stop. And there's certain windows where you want to accelerate through, and there's certain windows that you want to be on point through, where you're just kind of clearing in, you're taking it stride for stride with the pitch and the sequence of movement, and then it's time to go. On the mound as well. I mean,
absolutely.
When you feel the ground ball, pre-pitch hop, you're timing that up to the pitch or the tempo, to the tempo of the pitch, and that plays into the kinetic chain, and it all is about creating exponential momentum within your game that maximizes your potential.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you 100%. For anybody who's joining us at any moment, if you guys have any questions about health, fitness, strength training, sports, baseball, anything at all, just go ahead and throw them in. That's kind of the big reason why we're doing this, just to help and share our knowledge.
Absolutely.
Mark, like as you're saying, man, so let's talk a little bit. We kept talking in the strength world. You're a big advocate for strength and training and detailed stuff. What about in the pitching versus position player side? What have you seen on that? How do you treat those guys different? Should they be treated differently? Go ahead.
That's a good question. That's a very good question. So I can tell you like this. The position player should treat their arm like the pitcher, and the pitcher should treat their workout detailed. I mean, at the end of the day, efficiency comes within every phase of your development. So like whatever you do in the weight room, it should be sport specific to your movement pattern, that like whether you're a quad dominant guy or a glute dominant athlete. My ace is a quad dominant athlete. His squat needs to be heavier than most kids. So it comes down to like how they move on an individual basis, but how you train an athlete should be fundamentally the same, like especially a ball player. So position players and pitchers go through the same exact lower body regimen because it's all the same positions. There's different single leg work that will help a pitcher more. It's like more in need. Position players benefit from it. I mean, everything you do is basically on single leg at different times. So single leg strength work is universal within both sides of it. And then arm care. I mean, you can find it in so many different ways, and your position players can field ground balls and be zipping across the infield. Your catchers will be popping up out of their legs and rotating through their throws rather than forcing the ball and missing arm side right. So it's about building efficiency throughout the entire system up the chain. It's like a tornado effect.
Gotcha.
Cross body training path.
So you brought up a point there that I don't think many people know about, and kind of what you were talking about, how our bodies are not all the same, how some of us are a little bit more forward dominant versus back dominant, quad dominant versus hamstring dominant. How, for anybody watching, how would you kind of help them kind of realize what they're more dominant?
Okay. I would say look at yourself sideways in a mirror and cut your shoulder and cut your head in half and see which side of your body you lean to. If you see your head in front of your hips or your waistline, you're already leaning this way onto your quad side. So it's about shifting your whole entire weight within the way you move.
Absolutely.
In a very organic and like deep neurological way. Like you want to impact the way you walk significantly. I know this because of my injury. I learned how to walk more efficiently because I broke the Jones bone in both of my feet. So
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, man. I mean, and you have to learn that within your foot structure, it highly impacts how you should train. So high arch foots, their toes need to be kind of more open in a squat, open on a mound, open in a box. Low arch feet can be more pigeon-toed.
Okay,
So
cool.
that way your hips are more connected to the torso. So it's all about understanding your own anatomy down to like your hips, your feet. I mean, your knees kind of just follow everything else.
Yeah.
And the elbows follow the shoulder. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we move from the middle.
No, absolutely, and I want to add a little bit on that with the aspect of our body is just made of bone structures and things that are connecting it. Those things are muscles, ligaments, and tendons. Over time, those muscles will shorten, and those will cause our imbalances. So that's another point where I would like to add on kind of what we've been talking about, how important is what we're training for. What's the function? If we're a ball player, we can't expect to go bench 3 times a week and expect to have a big pec, and that's just going to help drive the ball. No.
I mean, the point is to lengthen.
Exactly. So it's every single goal of ours or every single thing that we're doing has a different purpose. If we're training for basketball, if we're training for baseball, if we're training for losing weight, it all matters. And it all depends on what level you're at, Another thing I would like to talk, and I feel like you've had a lot of experience on this side, is what about the mobility side of it?
Okay. Yeah, so I do have quite a bit of experience in testing mobility, range of motion in general. And it's definitely trial and error. You got to learn that on an individual basis as an athlete, like down to yourself as a pitcher or a hitter, understanding your body's capabilities. A coach can impact the programs that you do and the way you go about it. But realistically, the only person that can determine what their body's good at or bad at is by testing it themselves and locking in on themselves and how they move. And when you're going through 90-90s, right, for example, if you're watching this and you don't know what a 90-90 is, you're basically putting your knees flat on the ground to one side and then you're rotating them off the ground. Mm-hmm. This is to build hip and quad like kind of connection and loosen that up. That movement for every single pitcher is different. It's a different feeling. I mean, you're going to work through your own quirks within your body. So the only way you can work through it is to commit to soft tissue work. Mm-hmm. and to open up the muscle's ability to be mobile by staying connected. So brutalization of the soft tissue via like lacrosse balling, foam rolling. You gotta take care of what you brutalize. And when we sprint really hard, our hamstrings get shorter after, like, and they get tighter and they're breaking down. So you have to get deep into your hamstrings after you sprint. That's just one example.
Yeah, no, and I'll also add to that more on my position as a catcher for many years. That is one thing that I noticed when I got to the college level, to the higher Division I, and I got to pro ball, that they focused on daily. It was almost as important as how hard we were hitting legs, because clearing our hips, being able to get in a comfortable position, allow us to stay there for such a longer period of time, was just night and day. I mean, can we really, especially if we're talking about framing, if we're talking about getting under the ball,
Leveraging.
oh my God, it's all so important. And I would also even add that to position guys as well, to be able to move side to side. If you don't got good mobility, you're struggling, you know?
No doubt.
And you're more likely to get hurt. If we got stiff muscles are more likely to pull than elongated muscles over time. You want to add anything to that?
Okay, so I'll add this. You can become hypermobile. There is such thing as hyperflexible. So by stretching out nonstop, that's like kind of the old school method. And that's what I was always told, that you gotta stretch out more. You gotta stretch out more. No one really told me to like put a baseball on my back and allow my shoulders to like dig back into gap retraction. So at the end of the day, your muscles can only do what you allow it to. And the way if you put if you do bands the before and after you throw, and you're committed to cross symmetry, and you're killing it, and you're doing it, you're throwing a ton. Well, guess what? Without strength, without the proper strengthening of the muscles behind that, you're becoming hypermobile. And after you're hypermobile, becomes the possibility of plastic deformation. Shout out to Angel Ortiz for teaching me that.
Okay, yeah. That's back in the Doral days for you.
No doubt, I learned it firsthand. I mean, two of my prized people, right? Because this is what I coach. I coach people. They were top-notch kids, committed their butts off to a band work and before and after, and they weren't doing enough in the weight room with me at the JV level, like my varsity guys were. So then, that's all they were doing. They threw a ton, and both my boys suffered. So I know, unfortunately, what plastic deformation looks like and how the dysfunction can occur when you're not properly mobilizing your arm and putting resistance on it with bands. Positions, how you move, efficiency, the importance of movement is what keeps you healthy.
Absolutely. Let's take a second to answer one of the questions we have. Matt asked, what is the longest amount of time that you should stay in a velo cycle? 2 days a week on a mount with a radar.
Say the question again.
So what is the longest amount of time that you can stay on a velo cycle 2? I guess velo cycle 2 days a week.
The longest amount of time you can do that for?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say,
I don't really know what he's talking about.
When you test twice a week, you need to have the proper amount of recovery days, because if you are not properly ramping up that test day, you're doing your body a disservice, you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're not producing the optimal force. So you can do that for about 8 weeks, 10 weeks, but you should probably blend the mound more into your program rather than test either on flat ground. You need to throw off a slope, Matt. Throwing on a slope is where you learn how to sit into the mechanics of your delivery. So
yes,
testing should go no more than 8 to 10 weeks. At 2 times a week, that's a lot. That's a lot for a young arm. So I would say ramp up the whole week towards Friday. Make Friday your big day, and have a good long toss on Monday and Wednesday with 2 great recovery days. I think that would be good for you, Matt.
Is he talking about, I'm guessing, velo testing off of, curl hopping, throwing off the net kind of thing? That's what we're assuming? Okay.
It's high intent throwing. It's high intent throwing. It's just, it's a form of, yeah.
Gotcha.
I think I know who that was.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Yeah, I mean, you know a little bit. So I think that's a great moment, especially if we're talking about testing in the arm and to bring in the weighted balls to talk about different types of throwing programs that are kind of the new fab that's been going on for the past 5 years or so. If you want to kind of talk a little bit what you teach, what you believe, and why you do that.
Okay. Yeah. So the the fact that it's viewed as a fad is not good. That's where this conversation is meant to go. Like we're trying to
Hmm.
take it from fad and put it into arm care. So the way you pick up a weighted ball matters. The grip matters. The way you process your throwing motion matters. If you are overloading with a 3 pound black ball, a black driveline ball, and you aren't getting your elbow up, you're in trouble. No matter if you're Roger Clemens, but he probably gets his elbow up.
Yeah.
So the way you throw it is going to determine your results, and the way you follow the science of the practitioner. The practitioner of driveline is an example. They have a program for intermediate guys, and they have a program for driveline pro. And the driveline pro recovery is more intense. It's more intense. Like you're going through a regimen every day after you throw that's getting you stronger. If you don't do that part of it, the throws do nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Except wear you down.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this the other day a little bit that what because we have a lot of knowledge and we were a little separate. So I know a little bit more about the medical side or the research side that comes with it. You know more about the everyday play, day-to-day coaching, dealing with players. Like you said, you coach players. You don't coach, the game. It's every individual's players, people. That's exactly what you said. We've seen from the research that has come out of Dr. James Andrews Institute and stuff like that is weighted balls are more prone to get you hurt. I truly believe that is because of what you're just saying. There's guys who are trying to implement these programs without any knowledge and just thinking that if they do one aspect of it, they're just going to see results. And that's just putting them in positions to get hurt. It's not just about grabbing a weighted ball and throwing it, and that's just going to get you velo. It's integrating these programs in a specific way, making sure that the elbow stays high, that arm stays up. Otherwise, we're causing elbow problems, we're causing shoulder issues. Is there anything you want to kind of add to that?
No, absolutely. I mean, that's the whole thing is that if you take Driveline's program and you try to do it at a different level, you're not going to experience the same you're not going to experience the same science on the body. There's no way to say it. There's no other way to say it. So if you don't have the proper equipment, don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have the proper overwatch, don't do it. If you're not recording yourself and analyzing it as an individual athlete chasing a dream, find someone to record it, analyze
Get a tripod.
Make sure you get a tripod. Make sure you get that on video and you're seeing it. Because if you don't see it, it's based only on feel, and you can think you're doing something when you're not.
Yeah.
So,
And bro, that is such a good moment. I don't know how many times I used to fight with my pops because he was like, "Hey, your hands are low," and I'm like, "No, my hands are not low." Then he would pull out the camera and be like, "Hey, look, your hands are low, jackass. Like, pay attention."
yep.
And that applies for everything. Seeing if our elbows low, that's just going to cause problems, this and that. So I'm so glad that you brought that point up, especially in the world we live in. Everybody's got an iPhone, and everybody's got an iPhone that can do slow mo. Why not use it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And everyone is capable.
Yeah,
If you say
absolutely.
you're not, I know someone that is. I know someone that puts their camera in the mitt every single time they hit and is watching themselves. I see it every day in the college level. They put it on a chair, put the camera down, it's done.
Yeah.
And it's that simple. You're able to get it done. So
as we talk about that, my brain goes into this spectrum, which was something that I used to have a lot of issues was overcomplicating the game. Where is that borderline place for a player to be like, okay, I want to make sure I'm doing the right things, but sometimes we overcomplicate the game so much that we get lost in our own head. Anything that you're thinking about that? How do you kind of coach your guys? You've been doing it for a little while. I know
yeah.
it's a different question for you, but
No, that's good. That's because I know firsthand as a player.
me too. That's why I'm saying it.
Yeah. I wasn't recording. I recorded on certain days where I felt really, really good, and then to a process that was very elaborate, very which like there was like some holes in my swing, and I committed to that process. That's why I kind of preach that. Make sure it works. Test it on velocity, because if your mechanics work in front toss, but they don't work on velocity, then it don't work.
Yeah.
If you're not testing yourself against live hands or the hack attack, Tamiami slugger's cage that shoots it out at 90 on, you have to react. And when you have to react, you find the deficiencies within your mechanics and your process. So creating reaction time, creating pressure on the athlete allows them to experience the game-like emotions on a consistent basis and learning how to control them. Shout out to Rothball and Armando Rodriguez.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I'll also add a little bit to that. So even if, because you talked about the machine, even if you talk about the hack attack and you talk about sluggers, even if you don't have the financial means to be able to get to that, hey, hard front toss does the same job. Sitting down over the hand, that does the same thing.
Front toss.
Exactly. There's plenty of ways to get this done. And it's making sure, and I love that you brought that up, is making sure that we're practicing at game intensity. It's not just soft toss, side soft toss. That's just no, you got to practice the way you're going to play. Otherwise, what the heck are we doing?
Yeah, honestly, though, if you have a controlled setting and you're working on a craft, it's okay. You have to test that. You have to test it the same way you're working on your mechanics and you want to test your velo. Well, as a hitter, you test it by facing velo.
Yes, absolutely.
It's the corrective.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you were saying.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what you talk. I know something very important to you, something you preach a lot, and something that you have a lot of knowledge about. Talk to me a little bit about the bull whip pattern.
Okay. So the bull whip pattern comes into what we talked about in the very beginning. It's exponential momentum. The science behind rotation. Rotation is a constant cycle that if you interrupt it, it will not be the full effect. It won't have the full velocity. It won't have the full force production, period. So understanding that how we plug our feet in the ground is the same way we grab the handle of a bull whip. In Texas or ranchers, like when they're, or in general, the bull whip is a tool that doesn't make a sound as it's working. It makes a sound after it's done its job. At the very end of a bull whip, it cracks on an object.
Yes.
That crack releases all the force, all the intent behind the whip, all the exponential momentum that it gathered over the whip wave-ish motion, and then it releases. Well, we do this on a slope on a mountain. So when you're going down the slope, you have to sit downward as you rotate upward with your elbow. And at that time, if you can maximize the efficiency and it's a calm feeling. Pitchers, it's a calm feeling where you're just exerting force through the window of optimal release point. It's at 1 o'clock or 11 o'clock. That's optimal slots to release full force production of the bullwhip.
I mean, I love what you're saying. Again, you know a little bit more about the pitching side of things because that's kind of what you played and what you coach. I know more of the hitting side. I feel like everything you're speaking is the exact same thing. But I wanted to ask you about. Talk to me about. So you're talking about the 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock position. What about if a guy is more of a 3/4 kind of guy or more of a sidearm kind of guy? Can you still implement that into their program, or is it just for?
Absolutely. Very good question, Roger. So the slot is for 100 miles per hour. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what big leaguers throw every day out of the bullpen. And that's what they do. They throw 100 because they all know that that's optimal. Now, if your body is stronger and more comfortable from a 245 like my ace, You move differently. Your bullwhip works differently. It is a chain of command. It's up the chain. So, I mean, it starts from the foot, gathering energy up to the core, and then that core sinking together and climbing up to the elbow and out the hand. This is the same thing that happens for a hitter, but it goes to the barrel.
Yes.
It's all about getting all that energy to your barrel and keeping that energy on your barrel through the ball. Same thing about the baseball when you're pitching. You're getting energy from the middle of your body into the elbow, into the fingertips, and then through the core of the baseball. So, in essence, the bullwhip always has a snapping point in either side of this game. One is the barrel, one is the baseball.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I mean, once again, I know more about the hitting side of the game. And I would say that once you get to the wood bat is where you can really, really start to see that difference, is where you can start to hear just that exact same thing that you're talking about, that whip. You can hear it on a baseball. And I mean, I love when I'm coaching guys about hitting, and I'm like, did you just hear how that ball just came off your bat? Like it's night and day, the difference. And it's just about keeping the hands soft, keeping that whip motion. And that's what makes big leaguers big leaguers. They consistently can do that.
Yes. It's so hard.
It is. It's not. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, because I mean, I'm getting excited about talking about it. How important is timing in this game? Because that's pretty much what it's all.
You're nothing without it.
Yes. How do you, because it's like, it's funny because in baseball we never talk about dancing or anything like that, but it's all smooth, like motion, flow, timing. All of that is what allows us to be great, not good, be great.
That's
if there's anything you want to kind of talk and say about that.
Yeah, I mean, you want to understand how to change directions in the game in a very swift way, kind of like a salsa dancer.
Yeah.
I mean, your hips, your pelvis, and your trunk is what connects your four limbs.
Mm-hmm.
So when you exert energy, it comes out from the pelvis and the trunk, and it goes through your limbs. So when you're dancing with the bat in your hand, you have to let it whip all the way through the barrel. I mean, it's a fluid motion. When you're dancing salsa with a partner, you're working it all the way to the fingertips with your partner. And it's the same essence when you were hitting. It's right through your fingertips on the barrel that connects to the barrel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with our pitching when we get that full release point and spin off our fingertips. I mean, it all stems from the middle. It's in the hips to the barrel or the hips to the hand. I mean, it's period, point blank. That is the connection. You have to dance with the pitcher because timing, that pitcher's delivery to your own dance in the box is the battle. That is baseball. It's a dance. It's a barbaric battle with a man with a club and a man with a rock, and may the best man win.
As you're saying all that, I had a little thought that came to mind was, as a pitcher, you create all the timing. As a hitter, you are trying to deal with that person's timing. And it's when you're teaching guys, it's like as a pitcher, you're the one initiating it all. Like every single time that you're on the mound and you're making that pitch and it's like there's nothing that should deviate you from that. Is there any let's think about like 2 or 3 key things that you might tell your guys, whether it's mental checkpoints, whether it's routine checks or anything like that maybe somebody here might find very, very knowledgeable or whatever. I don't know.
Absolutely, yeah.
Go ahead.
Useful. Yeah, useful. Okay, so when you're hitting, I heard it from Todd Hollandsworth Best watching a Marlins game the other day. You cannot start your swing until your foot gets down.
Amen.
This is the preconceived notion behind. There's a bad preconceived notion as a young hitter and getting your foot down. What that means, and I like to explain it like this: get your toes down. Get your toes down, and work through your heel. When you allow yourself to land soft on your toes, it creates better balance on your backside. At that point, you're in good position. If you can execute that, you'll be in a foundational, like a 60-40 base or like a 55-45
Yes.
base. Like, you need space between you and the ball in order to get your barrel out.
Yeah, you can't be here. You can't hit the ball here. You got to be extended. That's
But yeah, you have to be behind it, and
yes.
then you have to extend on that ball. If you
Hmm.
extend on the ball at contact, unfortunately, you probably don't maximize everything.
Hmm.
You're really trying to catch that barrel and then extend through the post contact. So that's what I'll tell you guys. Like this, key points: get your foot down with athletic. Get your foot down in an athletic way.
Yes, absolutely. And getting your foot down does not mean stop your momentum. I hate when I
Absolutely
see
not.
that.
You have to take over with your hands at that point, and
Hmm.
your hips are going to clear, and then your hands are the barrel is coming in hot,
A
right
hundred
behind,
percent.
hot. I mean, you're not slowing down. You're really just gradually accelerating.
Yes, 100%, 100%. Let's take a second to answer a question I saw here. Again, guys, we'll be live going on and we'll be talking throughout this whole time. If anybody has any questions, throw them down underneath. That's why we're doing this. We're trying to help share our knowledge, share our experiences of many years in the game and just fitness and health in general. So we had one of the questions here that says, do you have any drills to stop cutting the ball?
Yeah, I do.
They are.
All right, open up your stance completely. Put your front toes in line with your third base dugout in your head. And third base bag. Once you do that, you can't move your feet. I need you to work behind the ball. I need you to load into your left butt cheek. If you're a lefty, right butt cheek if you're a righty. The reason why I determined that specific word is butt cheek is because you have to sink into a chair in this drill. And when you sink it into a chair, I mean, it's kind of hard to describe a drill.
It is. It's very hard. One of the things that I'll add to
You're
that
cutting off the ball. You're cutting off the ball. Grab a short bat. Grab a short bat and no stride. Sit on that back leg and work those hips in that short bat until you start straightening out. Until you start keeping that barrel on the ball. It's gonna be harder with a short bat if you're cutting it. If your hands are going, sideways.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a really tough drill. So you're gonna learn that you have to keep your hands inside seam, attack it, and then throw the barrel through it. Good luck. If you're cutting the ball, you need to really focus on your hands to the pitcher. In general, that barrel to the pitcher.
Gotcha. I know. I saw one of the drills that I used to see Trevor Bauer kind of do, and he talked a lot about because I feel like they're talking about more about throwing a ball, and he would get a Sharpie and he would write a straight line across the ball so that he can see every single time he was throwing his pitch, he could see how the rotation of that ball coming off his hand, and from there he was able to play with pressure, able to play with in his mind he was thinking more staying inside. Elbow stays in the same spot.
That's brilliant.
But that it's the fact that it's tough to see a baseball's laces. It's impossible to see it, especially when you're throwing. When you're catching it is a little different. But being able to make that line, you can see the ball come off your hand and you can see the rotation. That's also very good for changeups, for anything like that. You can kind of see the rotation of the ball and you can have an immediate feedback to know, hey, this is working, this is not working. So
yeah, that's gold, y'all. I mean, like, truly, what Roger just said is gold. Like, take a ball, draw a line on it, and you'll see why. I mean, if you're cutting the ball, the line still may show you that you're cutting it. And the reason why you're cutting it may be because you're throwing that ball before you get your front foot in the ground. So go fastball, changeup for 20 throws before you get on a bump. And keep the same arm speed, same delivery, but one's a changeup where you're pronating, and one's a fastball you're finishing through. I think if you're cutting the ball, it's just you're not getting enough pronation on it.
I love that.
If you go fastball, changeup, it should get your arm back aligned to just natural pronation within your arm delivery.
I love that. And it's so, as you say that, a big question comes to my head. out of, fastball, changeup, curveball, slider, all of them, top two pitches that you think should dominate or top, like that you should have. Again, I know this varies off every guy. Some guys will have a hammer, some guys will have the slider, the 12-6, the changeup will be this thing. From whether you want to talk about your experience or what is the best for you two pitch combo?
Two pitch combo. You better throw 100 and 92 slider. So you want the slider to look, no matter what you do with whatever two pitches you do, pick any two pitches, put a camera overlap, and make sure that it looks like the same exact release point.
Yes.
And then the arc of the ball, the release of the ball, goes a certain distance, the same exact way, and then it breaks different directions.
Yes.
That's what you want to do with any two pitches. You better have that if you're going to throw two. But this is my suggestion for all the pitchers: have three. And three.
Absolutely, and I agree with that 100%. My goal was that to kind of say, you got to at least have two pitches you command, two pitches that you can go at any count and throw them. And I'm so happy that you just talked about release point and consistency on that.
I'm going to build on this. This is a good talking point. You know how you master this? You know how you turn your two pitches into six pitches? You learn how to add and subtract off your pitches. That's something that I did in real time. You caught me. I would throw BP fastballs in counts, and I would slow ball them. I would throw them something that looked so fat, but it would drop. You know who else does this in the big leagues? It's Lance Lynn. I watched the game yesterday. 5 days ago, the game was on, but I rewatched it because I like Lance Lynn a lot. He gives me a lot of hope. I could have been like him in my head. So he throws a BP fastball that it goes straight and it drops right down. It just drops. And then his normal fastball is 94, 95. But he throws one pitch at 94, 95, and then he chooses an 0 count to start you off with 90.
Yeah.
That drops a little bit. So then the next time he throws a fastball, same release point, same arm action, same everything, it's 95 and it's by you. That's why he's an all-star.
So I love what you brought up. How were you able to do that? Do you feel like you were able to – because I feel like guys are struggling with just throwing a fastball at 90% out of, locating it. How do you get to being, okay, I'm going to throw, let's say I throw 90, I'm going to throw a fastball at 90 miles an hour, but then I'm going to throw one at 85, and I'm still going to be able to command it. Is it timing?
No, it's
I know it's tough.
That's
tough.
A good question. You, as an athlete, as a pitcher, you kind of know the effort levels, what it takes, and you can sell things. Something I did as a pitcher was sell fastball, throw changeup, and it got me from not pitching in college for 2 years and being just a first baseman to the starting rotation. It's because it was deceptive. You're trying to create deception in general with anything. So if you have only two pitches that you command, have deception within your delivery and deception on your pitch repertoire. So understand that you can sell that you're going to throw as hard as you can, and then you can pinpoint your location by practicing that every day in your catch play. You have to learn how to control acceleration and deceleration. And the only way you learn that is every day.
I love, and I'm going to add to this. I talked a little bit about this yesterday with Mikey, and it was how important every single rep, every single pitch you throw. I think it's so much more important for a pitcher because you only have 100 pitches you can throw a day from, warm up to on the mound to on whatever. Stop bullshitting and talking crap with your friends. Take that. Every single pitch matters. Every single pitch is teaching your kinetic chain, is teaching your release point, is working. And that's all it takes is consistency with focus. And that's what you're going to get those results.
Absolutely. Absolutely. At the end of the day, there's no secret formula to you locking in on your release point. You can do whatever you want with your body, but if you hold that baseball to a certain point and you release it at that point that is going to throw it straight, that's up to you to work on every day. That's something for you to find out every single day. That is something that you have to discover through experience.
100%. 100%. Let's take a quick kind of shift and let's talk. I know you're You've been at the Division I level, both as a player and as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
You're now at the NAIA level. Let's talk about the recruiting aspect. I think that's something super important for guys and for kids that ultimately wanted to make it to the next level. Kind of tell me what have you seen? I guess I'll set you up a little bit. What have you seen the difference, whether it's Division I, JUCO, NAIA, recruiting process? Just kind of talk about that.
Okay. Yeah. So, well, there's this big monster in the room that messed everything up called COVID. And truly, it messed it up for the players. For in the situation that I'm in, it's provided me plenty of food to eat.
Yeah.
And
what you mean by that is players to bring. Let's just kind of understand for those who didn't get it.
Absolutely. It's a trickle down from the D1 guys that got their fifth year when they normally wouldn't have, and now those rosters trimmed. Then that went downward, and then every roster trimmed, and JUCO gave back eligibility to the COVID year, like everybody else, and then the following year, because JUCOs all across America were shutting down their seasons because of the lack of funding and the financial impact that it had on their entire university or college. So JUCOs, I brought in a freshman left-handed pitcher from Long Beach, California, who's 21 years old, 88 to 89 miles per hour. And he hasn't pitched yet in college because he went into college during COVID era. So, that kid is going to – those kids keep coming in. They keep coming. And like, if I'm the high school kid right now, I'm calling every JUCO in the country to find the right home, and I'm trying to get to Division I level after playing in college. Because if you don't have college at bats, it's going to be tough to be an impact player unless you're one of the Power 5 guys, or you're designed in their program as one of their key guys coming out of high school.
Yeah,
you need to go to a place that's going to win, have a great culture, and get you better every day. So that no matter what, by your junior year, you're a beast.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about like what you just talked about there, the JUCO route, because I can talk a little bit from my experience when I first got out of high school, and I went to the University of Miami, and I had the most negative perception about JUCO, and I didn't really understand why it was there. Like, I'm being honest and super transparent till I was honestly like forced to go to JUCO, and I understood it afterwards. I saw where, it's one for guys who maybe are not ready for the next level, maybe need that little bit of more at bats, more everyday practice, everyday play. But at the same time, you get some quality kind of guys there.
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely. You get guys that make themselves in the JUCO world because they're getting a chance to play. So this is what kids out of high school at 18 are facing. Everyone in college is 1 year older. Mm-hmm. So now there's a 23-year-old senior that was just an All-American, but didn't get drafted because of a shortened draft. And now he's going to go carve you up on a Friday night in your small school. The reason why is because that guy's older than you, more advanced than you, been training longer than you, and the JUCO world is younger. It's 2-year universities. You're facing 21-year-olds, honestly, I got a 23-year-old JUCO player. But you're facing 21-year-olds at the most, like, for the most part, at the oldest age. And you can handle that a 3-year gap much easier than, per se, trying to come to a powerhouse NAIA like Middle Georgia and trying to come in and play as a freshman is almost irrational, because I have a 25-year-old that is at the position that you're playing. Because at the end of the day, the NAIA is filled with JUCO, great ball players, and then kickbacks. So top 25 NAIA baseball is going to compete with the best in the country. Southeastern played against the Tigers and lost 6-1. It's not a joke. Like, whenever you got the top 25 at any level, those programs are filled with dudes.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about you. Sorry, you brought up the recruiting side, and I know you're a recruiter because you're a coach, and that's part of the job.
I am the recruiting coordinator.
There you go. And I was talking with Mikey yesterday about this as well, and I was saying, and I tell this to all my players, the most important thing as a player once you're trying to get to the next level is it's a balance between obviously you want to play somewhere where you want to play, but even more important than that is playing somewhere where they want you to play, when
Yeah.
they actually want you, where it's not, oh, that's my dream. No, no, no. If you're not on the field, what are you doing? And
Yeah.
what I wanted to ask you was more on an advice and a tip for the guys that are going there. How would you really know that a school wants you? I know that's I'm throwing you from the other side, but because you're a recruiter, that's your job is to sell.
Yeah.
But
No,
for a
it's not.
player,
It's look up their roster, look up their positions, see how many guys they have at the position that you play. If you see guys that are older than you there, that are started every day, look at the games as amount of games played and games started, and you'll find out who's the bench guy, who's the starter. You have to do your homework. I mean, you have to do your homework. If you don't do your homework as a high school kid, they can sell you the world. You're gullible. I mean,
yeah.
so you gotta go ahead, take the program that you're gonna go to, and look at their roster. That's what I would suggest.
I love that. I love that. And it's so true. You got to do your homework. At the end of the day, baseball is a business, and your job is to put guys on the field that are going to perform and are going to give you W's.
Let me say this: my 3-hole hitter last year was a walk-on, and that is something that I can tell you that at great programs, it doesn't matter if you're on 100% scholarship or if you're on $0. The best guys play.
They're trying to put a winning lineup up on the field every single day. You
Period.
know. No, I love everything that we're talking. Let's talk a little bit more because I know you're more on the NAIA side. Kind of educate me a little bit more. Where do you put that NAIA world in the spectrum of D1, D2, JUCO, college, all that kind of stuff?
All right. This is where I put it. Top 25 D1, top 25 D2, top 25 NAIA, top 25 JUCO, top 25 D3. That's why I see that top 25 NAIA. Then when you talk about other schools in the NAIA, it's going to probably be along the lines of, I can't tell you. I can't tell you. I can't speak for all the NAIA schools. I can only tell you that top 25 NAIA baseball is filled with guys that throw cheese and hit the ball far as heck. And they're like 22 to 23 years old when you're facing them. So that's a low end. There's some 27-year-olds out there, and there's some 30-year-olds out there that are ex-pro guys that got chances, that are getting their education. That's the luxury of the NAIA. If you're an ex-pro guy and you were born in a certain window, you can come back to the NAIA if you're released. So that's
Really, I
where
didn't
you're
know
also
that.
facing. That's where I'm telling you that top 25 NAIA baseball is
They got
right
dudes.
underneath. It's right
Yeah.
there in that class. I mean, it's not even we were ranked number 11 in the country last year for like 9 weeks. And I won't even lie to you. Last year, by the time it was all said and done, we were outside of that top 10. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how it goes. Like you find out what it's about when you face them. And we faced the number 2 team in the country and got eliminated.
That's part of the journey, man. That's part of the process. It is
Yeah,
what it
one
is.
pitch away, but one pitch away here and there. But at the end of the day, they were deeper. And you have to understand that you're trying to get to certain levels in this game. As an athlete, as a high school baseball player, you're trying to get to the championship levels, wherever it is. Find championship programs. D3 championship programs are the way to go if you're a guy that's coming out of high school who's undersized and wants to get a great education. I got my ace from a Division III named Marion University. He wanted to get out of Wisconsin in the cold winters, and he wanted to throw baseballs in the hot summers of Georgia, and in the hot spring of Georgia. He made the right move. He was one of the best pitchers in the country, and he came from the Division III level and dominated the NAIA. Beat the World Series champions, Georgia Gwinnett, and he dominated them 11 Ks over 7 innings.
Wow.
And that's a Division III hit pitcher that came in his first year. worked his butt off, and became the ace of a program. So it doesn't matter where you play at. It matters if you play and how good you play, because then you open up doors.
Yeah, I mean, numbers don't lie at the end of the day. I mean, I'm a huge advocate of that, stats for stats. And I'm sorry, if you hit 200, you're not going to get to the big leagues. You're not going to sign anywhere, regardless of what level you're at, you know? So you got to perform, and you can't perform if you're not playing, which is pretty much what you're talking about, you know?
No,
So,
and shout out to Armando Rodriguez and Ralph Suarez for sending me to a place like LIU. You know, I got there as a true freshman, and I got at bats. And luckily, I mean, I redshirted by a broken foot. So then by the next year, I started 55 games a year for the first 2 years of my career. And that was because they steered me towards a school and program that understood that I was going to be able to start for them, and I was going to be able to impact their program, and I was going to be tough and stay up there through the cold, and they can invest in me. And my coaches were truly impactful in directing me towards LIU. Now, I know you were on the same path in a smaller D1, but you played every day at Winthrop. Right?
yeah. So, I mean, my journey was very interesting, I would say. I mean, I started at the University of Miami thinking, you know, my dreams have been reached, and quickly realized the business of the game. And at a young age, I wasn't able to register that. I wasn't able to register, hey, you know, why are they bringing in, like, why I was sold the world. I was sold I was going to play this and that. Not only injuries, but, you know, just kind of seeing another dude coming in that was like way better than me, or by stats was better. And I just didn't get it. I got mad. I hated the world. I hated life, and I just didn't get it. Now I understand it's a business. Their job is to put winners in there. And, you know, they brought in Zach Collins pretty much every day, freaking catcher behind the plate for the Chicago White Sox. I mean, you know, he's a dude, and Zach and I know each other very well and whatnot. Had an opportunity to then leave. Um, and it's actually funny that, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit, because it showed me how important having a relationship with a coach was, and having good coaches out there. Rest in peace, Angel Herrera, you know, coach for the Legends and for yeah. I made one phone call to Angel, and I get goosebumps saying, "Hey man, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, I'm leaving Miami. I don't know where I'm gonna play." And he said, "Give me 30 minutes. You'll have a school." 30 minutes. I had to call from Santa Fe College. They said, "I don't need to watch you play. If this guy is vouching for you, that's all I need. You want to pass by, just see the school. You got a full ride. Come over."
Wow.
And I was just like, you know, it's making that impact for certain type of coaches that would just vouch for you, and that's what your relationships are. I'm sure you've got, you know, coaches that you trust, and you know, hey, if this guy's going to talk about him, not only is his character going to be good, his work ethic is going to be good, but the guy's going to perform.
And so that's why you be a coachable player. That's why you have to carry yourself as a great young man, because you never know who's going to be in your corner at the time you need it most. And to hear that Angel did that for you, and you're close to mine. Angel coached me, and Angel and I had our disagreements at times, but I learned so much from that man. And to hear him, how he impacted so many players in our city of Dade County.
Yes.
I mean, rest in peace. Yeah, I love you, Coach Herrera. And I just wanted to say that out loud.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Definitely. I know he's smiling right now, watching this right now.
Yeah, I mean, I give him my career, because if he wouldn't have made that phone call, I really don't know what would happen. I mean, I wouldn't have gone to Winthrop. I wouldn't have ultimately, you know, signed pro ball, played pro ball, wouldn't have had the experiences and everything that happened. So, but I want to just throw this one more thing. And before I ask this question, one more time, guys, we'll probably be on for like 5-10 more minutes. If you guys have any more questions, throw them underneath. We'll be more than happy to answer them. If I haven't seen a question that you've thrown, just re-throw it in, because I'm trying to, you know, talk and do all that at the same time. So, but Mark, why did you become a coach? Talk to me. Tell me, what was your why, and you know, give me your story there, and then we can just kind of let it ride, brother.
Okay. All right. What's my why? All right. I instantly wanted to help people as a player. I always wanted to. As a young kid, I always wanted to win really bad, and like really, really bad.
Yeah, I agree.
It was intense. So I always tended to like coach my players, and my peers, my teammates, and it's kind of what I was born to do. Um, the game of baseball has taught me everything about life. So I want to continue to teach young men about life. And I failed. I failed in my pursuit of becoming a big leaguer, and getting drafted. So when I failed, I kind of just like walked away from the game and didn't really process what I did wrong. Like within my mechanics, I thought I did right. In time, I just started watching baseball again. And I started seeing the game different. I started locking in on how they started moving and like why they were so good. And then all of a sudden I just made a phone call. I had an urge and I spoke into the universe and I was like, somehow, some way, I'm going to get a second job. I was working real estate at the time. And then that very next day, I got a phone call from Ralph Suarez over there at the Royal Academy. I mean, it was like that. So what I listen to, I'm spiritually guided from above.
Amen. Same.
I believe in Jesus Christ. He died for our sins. Amen. I know my Heavenly Father watches over me. So when He speaks to me throughout throughout my experience, right, I listen. I follow my heart. I let my instincts take over, and I committed to coaching. And then when I see it, why am I a coach today? Because of the great coaches I've had. Because of the Ralph Suarez, the Heriberto Hernandez, the Armando Rodriguez, the Craig Notos, because of the Tom Cardis that I've coached with. Those are the people that are why I coach, because those are great people, and I want to be a great person.
Amen.
And I know that you can you can impact people in the game of baseball, like to their core value. This game tests you so much that you can break, and when you break, you need a really great coach to be there to pick you up and teach you what went wrong.
Yeah.
And that's where I didn't have that my last year in baseball. Like a confidant or like a hitting coach where I could go to. I wanted to do it myself.
Yeah.
And
No.
there were certain things. I'm not going to go into negative light.
Yeah. No, of course. I get it.
I have respect for all my coaches, and I want to shout out to Alex Treza, actually, at LIU for introducing to me. Like, he expanded my mind into the kinetic chain. And that got my engine going in college. So my why is like, I always want to get better. And the way I can get better at getting people better is like through coaching.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can get better at helping people get better, I feel like it's doing something of value.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I love how you brought that up. I would say it's more depending on also what level you're at. If you're in the high school level and the college level, you're really molding young men, and it's the cliche that we hear. I heard every single coach say it when I was playing. That's why I want to mold young men, this and that, and it's my job to make sure that they're disciplined, this and that. I never understood it till we grew up and we saw what life really, how it throws shit at you from left and right. And it's so true, man. It's part of, are you going 0 for 4 today? Have you gone 0 for 10 on the week? And how are you still showing up to practice? That's how you show up to life. You're going to fail in life. It's part of it. And I love that you brought that up. And I love that we can kind of end there, because there's so much more to life than just doing that, and it's how we're impacting players and people. And I love that, man. I'm so grateful that you brought that up.
Let me put in a little story. We played for this guy. So I'm there. I go down as a recruiting coordinator down to Port Charlotte for a prospect wire event. And, I'm there at the showcase in the stadium, and I just see a familiar face. And that face was a kind face. It was Ernie Quadrone.
I saw him the other day at the gym. He's gonna be one of my guys that I'm gonna bring on in here.
Oh man, he's a good one.
Yeah, I think we spoke, and he
told me some crazy stories when we went and got a beer after. That was really cool. Let me tell you that right now. Like, when you run into one of your coaches that you haven't seen, and even no matter what, if you have respect for a coach, you find out the next time you see him.
Yeah.
And that was always that's always cool to like see a coach identify that that man tried to impact my life
Yeah.
in a positive way, and no matter how it went, he's a great person for that. So
Amen.
I'm really, really thankful for all the coaches that have tried and committed to helping me as both a player and especially as a coach.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I also want to share because it's funny that you brought up Ernie Padron because Ernie Padron, obviously, you know, you played with us 1 year, but I don't know if you know this story. Maybe you do. So I was at Sunset my freshman year, my eighth grade. I was playing, you know, in JV, killing it, doing well. Was sold the world. Was sold I was going to play every single day. Went there, didn't play. All of a sudden, we made a phone call to Ralph Garcia and Ernie Padron. He said, "Hey, come over, come over. Let's see what you got." They offered me a position at the school. You know, all the details are irrelevant. A week later, I went from not playing at a school. It just blows my mind, and this is where I preach. And I preach this all the time because it was actually Anthony Peña's father who told my father, "It's not about where your kid wants to play; it's about who wants him to play." So I
Yeah.
went to Florida Christian and I did a workout for them. 2 weeks later, I'm in the Junior Olympics in Jupiter, Florida, throwing a 1A pop time to second base. And 3 days later, I'm invited to the 16U national trials. Changed
Ah,
my life. Like it was just
wow.
blew me away. Like it was that's where my whole career changed. I went from not playing a nobody, wasn't even going to be on varsity to top 34 in the country with dudes getting letters from LSU, Oregon, all left and right, and it was just like it was just so crazy. And I went on to play at Florida Christian, and me and Ernie butted heads a lot. And the reason why I brought this whole story up was when I saw him at the gym, I had to tell him, "Hey, thank you for everything you did because I know that we butted heads, and I know that." We didn't make sense, but me as a grown up now, I just got to say thank you for sticking with me and for everything you did for my life. Because if it wouldn't have been for you, I don't know where my college career would have ended up. You know, and it's so powerful. And I just wanted to kind of I don't know if you knew that story,
No, I,
but
ne-
yeah,
I no,
man,
I never knew that. I got goosebumps hearing you, man. That was
yeah, dude,
crazy. I didn't know that's how you really, because I remember that. Yo, we grew up together. Like, I remember you being beast, and I was like, Roger's not committed yet. What the hell is going on? And then all of a sudden, and I was like, holy cow. I need to go to Florida Christian.
yeah,
And then I went to Florida Christian the year after that.
yeah. We were stacked that year too. We were
So,
stacked every
hey,
year,
hey,
but
I'll tell you, to anyone still listening, that guy right there, they ain't better than him behind the plate, brother. That guy is a missile launcher, and he is a brick house.
yeah,
That
man.
there ain't nothing got past you. I threw how many CGs I threw a year? Like 5. And you
Yeah,
caught
man. It
every one of
was
them. You never miss a game, man.
Yeah, dude, it was crazy. I mean, I miss that and enjoy it, guys. Really enjoy it. That's so what Florida Christians, where we went to high school. He went his junior year. I went there my last three years.
That guy's from Taravella. What's Taravella?
Gotcha. But yeah, man. Mark, this was awesome, dude. I love talking baseball. I love sharing our knowledge. I mean, we played it for so many years, and you're still coaching it, and it's awesome, dude. I thank you for joining me, and you know,
Absolutely. Dude, you're the man. This won't be the last conversation we have on live.
yeah,
So if anybody enjoyed, send me some feedback for 5 Tool Process Development. I'll tell you right now that you have a very bright future in this right here. And you have such a wide variety of skill sets that keep doing this. I will absolutely join anytime you want to talk. We really didn't give it the full attention that we can. So
yeah.
let me know when you want to dive in again, friend.
Absolutely. I mean, again, this is just beginning, man. It's and as I told you the other day, the purpose behind this is I when I was younger, I felt like I would spend hours on YouTube trying to figure out what I needed to do, and I wish I could have had big leaguers, coaches, pro ball guys that spoke and could share, and I could ask them, "Hey, I was going through this today, and I did this wrong. Am I doing something right?" And just that's the beauty of social media. You can choose to use it for good, or you can choose to use it for bad. Use
Yeah.
it for good and get knowledge and connect with people. You're a DM away from anybody. You're a DM
I've
away
reached
from
out to Tom
anybody.
House. I've reached out to Tom House about specific topics and then seen posts come out of his account, answering my questions, answering my feedback. You know, he gave me his personal email. We exchanged emails back and forth. And that's Tom Brady's throwing coach. So, I mean, if you want information, you can find it in so many different fashions. I encourage you all to ask me any question you have and to reach out to anyone you really want to learn from, and study the masters that walked this earth. Jesus Christ, Barry Bonds. Those are the masters. Nolan Ryan, Tony Gwynn, Pete Rose. Those are the masters of their craft. You know, if you're a defender, Torrey Hunter. You know.
Yeah, dude. No, I'm with you, brother. I'm with you, man. And yeah, again, we'll be doing this. I'll get you back on. We'll have more questions, hopefully, you know. And again, once again, thanks for coming, brother. Always love talking to you. And I love catching up with my boys. Like, where else?
Sick. It's so cool.
Yeah, dude. Like, we don't get to really. Life is so complicated and so busy. We don't get to see each other. So that way, we get to see each other, talk baseball, talk life, and share our knowledge, man. Because that's ultimately what we're here for, brother. So.
Yeah, you inspired me today, Roger, so thank you for that. It's going to be a really fun year, and anytime you want to do this, you just give me a holler again.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark, and thank you, guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow we got Trace Laurie. He was a fellow friend of mine and played with me at Oakland. He's with the Texas Rangers now, and I'm excited to have him on. He's a currently pro ball guy. Small little guy, second baseman, just drops bombs, and
there you go.
So that's my goal. I'm gonna keep bringing in big league guys with a lot of knowledge, and let's just keep kind of sharing this. Share it to your friends, and let's keep sharing the knowledge, brother.
No doubt, man. That's what it's all about. And God bless you, Roger. Keep doing your thing, man.
I hope you guys enjoyed that episode and learned something valuable from it. If you did, smash that like button as it helps us reach more people just like yourself. But before you go, please consider hitting that subscribe button and turning on the bell notification, as my dedication to this YouTube channel and to this podcast is about to explode, and I don't want you guys to miss any of it out. So hit that bell notification, turn that subscriber on, and I know I said it backwards, but who cares? You guys know what I mean. See you guys next time.